Okay, so today's video is going to be about starting from scratch. What I would do if I had around $1,000 to $1,500 to start building a coloring book business, what I would be doing with that money. So we'll take a look at the overall strategy that I would use. We'll take a look at what software, tools or services that I would invest into, if any. Then we'll take a look at how I would create the covers for the books, the interiors, what advertising strategies that I would use, additional costs going forward, and where I would avoid overspending with money and where I would avoid spending too much time. So let's get into this. Now, obviously there's more than one way to approach publishing. Some people like to have a higher volume approach with a lower investment, so publishing more books and spending less money. What I'm talking about specifically here are people that are ready to jump in, people that are ready to invest into building something for their future. So this has to be done, in my opinion, in a very thoughtful and strategical way. So let's get into the strategy here. Then we're going to go through all the other factors in this video. So what I would be doing, the publishing strategy here would be to publish unique books in existing niches. So I've done tons of video about this, taking the existing niches that are doing well, then putting your own kind of angle and spin on them. Now, what I would look to do here is to set out to create a premium feeling brand so that we can offer higher price listings around $9.99. So this is something that I'm currently experimenting with and having some decent success with, okay? Because what we're finding at the moment is that there's just so many books that are $6.99, $7.99 that we do indeed want to try and stand out with some of our books and offer a higher price point. So what I would be doing here is really focusing on the customer here, the exact audience that I'm going to be targeting. And the reason that I'm so picky about doing this is because it helps me to create the books, and it also helps me helps me think about future products that I can sell to the customer down the line. So for example, if we were selling bold and easy coloring books, and this is just something from ChatGPT, but I want to really understand what type of audience are buying these books. So if we know that it's women between ages 25 and 45, they're busy, maybe their parents, they like having creative, playful things that they can do to relax. They like these cute aesthetic, nostalgic type of books that help them to relieve their stress. We're just getting an idea of what this customer is like, and then we're going to build all of our products around this person. Now, I find this helps me out immensely when it comes to just creating even the book covers so that I can understand the vibe that people are resonating with. And I'm going to give you another example of this in the next slide here. Now, for example, this is one of the books that I published a couple months ago, which is a swear word coloring book. I've actually increased the price of this book to $9.99. It doesn't have any advertising campaigns being run to it, and it's still selling quite well. Organically, it's making around $100 a month, which granted is not exactly the best selling book ever, but it just goes to show that even a book that isn't of a premium offering can sell for $9.99 if you get this right. So what I look at doing here in terms of releasing is to try and release a premium book every 2 weeks whilst working on AI coloring books in the background. So I'm going to go through this in a little bit more detail in the upcoming slides. The next thing that would be absolutely vital is that if I'm going to put money into this pursuit, especially with Amazon ads, is that I want to make sure that I am building out a huge email list so that we can sell things to our customers down the line. Okay, so I'm not going to get into too much detail in this video, but it is super important. If we're serious about putting money into something and building something beautiful for our future, then it's mega important that we think about not just selling on Amazon, but away from Amazon as well. And like I say, we're not going to get into too much detail in this video, but it's something everyone must seriously consider going forward. So I want to give you another quick example of targeting so that we can help create premium products for our audience. So for example, we can hone in on a very specific audience, someone like senior women, so women that are age 60 plus, people that are retired, and we'll take a look at the pain points that they have, the motivations that they have, where they spend their time, etc., etc. And that's going to help us to create these books where we have this customer in mind. So for example, what I've done here is just to ask ChatGPT about this audience and also to give some ideas for niches for this audience as well. So I do not go into too much detail with my keyword research. I just take something that is logical for the broad niche and make sure that I try and publish something premium for that niche. Now, if it makes sense something like large print or cats or relaxing garden scenes or vintage memories, as we can see on screen here. These all make sense for this niche. I'm not going to worry about the specific keywords that people would try and find for these niches, because I truly believe that the emphasis is now coming away from keywords, and if you produce something of a high enough quality, it will get spread out across Amazon and it will find its target audience and it will do well. So also, when you're doing this, when you're trying to think about your target audience, you want to be thinking about what other things can I sell to these people in future. So if you're capturing emails and you build a website away from Amazon, you want to think, what else can this target audience enjoy and buy from me? So that's the importance when it comes to thinking about the customer that you're going to be targeting, because it's going to help you with every aspect of your publishing, from your interiors to your book covers and what you sell to these people in future. Okay, so that's that. Now let's talk about actual spending, because what we're talking about here is having around $1,000. Now what people do is they spend tons of money on software, tools, services, courses. Now if I was starting again, this is the exact places where I would put my money. So Canva Pro, I've just made this up. I don't know how much it is a month. I think it's maybe $15.99 a month. I use Canva a lot, primarily to put the interiors for the books together, and also to do these kind of mock-ups where I place where I take a screenshot from Amazon's listings, then I take my book and I copy paste that over the listings to see how it looks in a thumbnail format. So Canva for me is pretty much a necessity. So sometimes what I'll be doing in Canva is, if I'm working with a designer on one of my books, I can quite easily leave them messages overnight because of a time zone difference. You can leave them messages inside of the Canva file saying what you like, saying what you don't like, so they can read that as and when. So Helium 10, I would be using their free BSR tool, the historic BSR tool. It's like a graph that comes onto your screen. It also shows the BSR under the thumbnail of the listings as well. But more importantly, with using a free BSR tool, what you can do is see if the sales for a book have been proven for a prolonged period. So that's why I like using a BSR tool like this. I would probably invest into some kind of AI subscription, whether it's Midjourney or Ideogram. Again, I don't actually know how much this costs at the moment, but my point here is, even if you're not doing coloring books with AI, I still think it's a good idea to learn, because of how important this advancement is going forward. From there, I would, and I've said this so many times that I feel like a broken record, but I would not be investing any money into niche research tool. I think that the emphasis on these tools is completely over exaggerated by maybe 1,000,000 times. I've never, from the success that I've had, I can never attribute that to keyword research tools. It's to other factors like niche research, having a good book cover, understanding the customer. All those boring things are what really, really, really matter. And in my opinion, not necessarily the niche research tools. If I was going to go for one, I suppose it would be some kind of reverse ASIN tool. I think Helium 10 does it. I think Self-Publishing Titans, and I think Publisher Rocket does it now as well. So if you already have some of them, then I think it's handy. Otherwise, I would not be putting my money into this. Now, what I see people doing is they have 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 6 different keyword research tools, and it's all pulling data that isn't from Amazon in the first place. It's all an emphasis thing. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And I can tell you here, hand on heart, my 3 best-selling books, which make over, in terms of the number of sales, 3,000 to 4,000 up to 15,000 sales a month, I can tell you not a single keyword research tool was used there. So we're talking facts here, okay? So from there, if I was starting again and I've had a little bit of money to put into this pursuit, I would 100% look into getting some form of mentoring or something, whether it's one-on-one stuff, whether it's being part of a Facebook community or a Discord community. There's plenty of them. Obviously, I offer my own community at the moment, but getting this direct feedback on what you're doing and understanding where you are in your publishing journey is more important than probably anything else out there. Because what you're going to find is that if you have some money to put into this and you think your books are hot shit when really they turn out to just be shit, you're not going to understand that unless you're getting some form of advice from people that are part of a community who know what they're doing and who can recognize good book covers, good niches, good subtitles, titles, etc., etc. So obviously I'm going to plug my own community here. If you're interested in checking this out, we have people inside the community who are already seeing a huge turn in their success with their first 1,000 copies sold, people releasing #1 new releases, people publishing their first books where they couldn't do that before, utilizing the advertising strategies to make sure they're not overspending, and of course getting feedback not just from me but from other successful sellers inside this community. So there's a lot that goes into this community. We have our monthly niche reports for niches that haven't been ruined by YouTubers. We have all the course content where we take a look at the advertising strategies, niche research, creating your titles, subtitles, all of that. All of these strategies are what I've been using myself for the last couple of years. We have weekly group live coaching calls every single Friday. All of these calls get recorded, and of course you get direct feedback from me on what you're doing with your publishing journey. So all the live calls are completely recorded, so you can go back and watch them. Now, for the sake of transparency, I showcase single book that I published, my main pen name, my best-selling books. I talk about all the strategies that go into that. I don't hide anything at all, which is why I think this is the best community that you can possibly join, the best thing that you can do for your publishing business. And like I say, that's linked in the description below if you want to check that out at any point. So the other place that I'll be looking to put some money is into website hosting. If we're thinking about this bigger picture and building a website for our brand, we'd obviously want to have website hosting, and of course email capture software as well. I'm not going to get into this in too much detail, but these are serious business expenses that you must consider if you are indeed serious about building something for the future, because we're not here just to bullshit people and say, hey, these are some hot niches that you can get into, here's a few dollars that you can make. No, we're thinking about something bigger that we can build and maybe even sell in future for a lot of money. And on top of this, we have of course freelancers as well, which we're going to get into in just a second. So what have I done here? Let's talk about creating the book covers. Now, for the book cover pursuit here, I'd be looking at spending around $50 per cover. So here's the thing, and this is so important that people understand this, is that if you don't have the skills to create a book cover and you're looking to put money into advertising or building out a brand and a website, you should not be creating your book covers in Canva in their entirety. So I do not have the desire to learn design skills. I just don't have the time or the inclination to do this. So I'm not going to waste a single second trying to create an entire interior on my entire interior or cover myself using Canva. No matter what these dudes on YouTube are showing you, it's not the reality to making good sales. Okay, so this is a premium pursuit. If you make some shit in Canva in 10 minutes and you try and compete against Coco Wild, Jade Summer, or some of my books, you're going to get eaten alive. Okay, but if you do well, if you get this right, obviously you can make a ton of money. So what I'd be doing with the book covers is to take a kind of hybrid approach to keep the cost down. So what I like to do for these kind of premium feeling books is to have one of the interior pages digitally colored, and then I can take that over to Canva, as you can see here, then place the text or the elements in this case where I want them. So this, for example, the swear word book, this is from the interior pages. They've been colored for like $30, I think it was, and then I can go ahead place all the text where I want it. And of this text here, this is a custom made text just for this book. Okay, so this is not exactly the most premium feeling book ever. However, with just these considerations, making this a bit better than the competition, we're now selling this book for $9.99. So on top of this, I would be spending some time learning the basics about cover design. So I can't get into this in too much detail. There are other YouTube channels that know a lot more about cover design than I do. I think Barry KDP has some great videos on A+ content and cover design, but we're talking about the real basic things here, like the color contrasts, negative space, and things like that are worth learning if you're going to take this kind of hybrid approach. Okay, so what I'm doing now and what I would consider doing as a part of this $1,000 spend is to test a dedicated cover designer for one of the books. So we're looking at spending between $100 and $200 for someone who knows how to specifically create an incredible book cover. And like I say, this is a premium pursuit. It might sound like a lot of money, but if you look at the likes of Jade Summer and Coco Wyo, you know, they're not making their books in Canva. They're just not doing it right. They have someone, and in fact, I even checked on Jade Summer. They have a specific cover designer. Okay, so this is a premium pursuit and it's something to seriously consider, maybe not straight away, but going forward in order to create this premium feeling brand. And actually, if you're interested, the membership on the live calls that I do, what I'm doing at the moment is publishing Christmas themed books into my main pen name, and 2 of those books, they now have a premium feeling design, as in I paid someone $200 per book cover. It's super interesting to see what they've come up with. If you want to check it out, again, it's going to be linked below, and I show off the progress for those books when they get released as well, to see how much difference it actually makes. I do a lot of testing. So that you guys can copy me. So what I would also look at doing is creating these books in the background where I'd be using AI, only if I knew how to do it. People don't know how to use prompts, and they end up creating books that look absolutely terrible. Now, this book cover here has been created using AI. I think this book was released a year ago. In my opinion, it looks fantastic, but a lot of people don't know how to create book covers like this. And of course, again, even if you're doing AI book covers, you still have this kind of hybrid approach you could take, where you could generate the image and then place the text over the top of it if you knew what you were doing. So let's take a look at this cat here for some reason. So we're talking about creating the interiors for the book. Now, here's what I would do. If I'm looking at a hand-drawn premium feeling brand like Coco Wow, or hopefully my brand, I would look at getting, and this is what I did, I get around $100 to $100 worth of samples from various freelancers on Upwork. So what I'll be looking to do here, if I'm hiring people from Upwork, is to get a ton of samples and then work with around 2 or 3 different illustrators whilst working on creating AI books in the background myself. Okay, so if you have a little bit of time, a little bit of money, it's a great way to kind of divide things and make sure that you're packing out your account with a decent amount of books. Like I said, 2 to 3 illustrators, because sometimes illustrators just go missing. For whatever reason, some people just aren't that reliable, and if you have just one person who's creating all your books and they end up going missing, then it's going to be a bit of a pain to try and find more people. But that's what I'd be doing, getting the best illustrators that I can absolutely find. I'm not going to talk about how much it costs to create the interiors, because it's going to be different depending on how much you are willing to pay them, where they live, and the quality of the work and the speed of the work. So I can't put that number out there, but working long term with good illustrators can make you a lot of money if this is a pursuit that you are going after. Okay, so one of the most important things here is that you understand if the samples or the interior that the people are delivering to you is good enough. And again, it's quite shocking to see that people don't understand the basics of what make for a good coloring book. So you're talking about the thickness of the lines here, making sure that there's no white space being taken up, making sure that the consistency of the lines for the bold and easy books in particular are consistent, and things like that. And again, if you wanted to join the membership and drop any of your designers samples into the Discord for us to check out, you can do that, absolutely. So with that in mind, like obviously if we have some money, we're probably going to be putting some of this into advertising. Okay, so I would like to preface this section by saying this is a pursuit for people that can comfortably spend. Okay, so it's not for every single person that publishes any type of book that you've just made in Canva or a shit notebook. This is not the strategy for you, but of course you should definitely still consider it even if you are doing that. So what I'd be looking at doing is having a kind of hard cap of around $100 per book to test the marketplace's response to this book. Now, people go crazy over the advertising campaigns. I'm going to explain in the last slide why it's a waste of time and almost a scam. So what I would be doing with these books is to have strict metric measuring to establish the book's potential. So I'm going to give you an example here from one of my books. Now, what we're looking at here is taking a look at the orders versus the clicks. I don't have the clicks on screen, my apologies. Taking a look at the cost per click, so how much you're paying every time someone clicks on your book listing, the ACoS for your book, and the spend is irrelevant. So this is super important. I do not just spend $600 per book. This is an educated, ongoing advertising spend. If I hit $100 and these metrics that I've just spoken about weren't adding up, then I would never spend $600, right? Some people will encourage you to spend and spend and spend, but the problem is if you don't know if your book is good enough, if you don't see these metrics working out for you, you should not carry on spending for coloring books in particular, okay? So like I said, this is the best advertising strategy you will ever hear. Ongoing, logical decision-making process. That is all you need to know for running ads to your books, okay? So from here, and we're getting, I think, slightly more advanced, but I want to put this out here because it is important for those of us that are prepared to put some money into this pursuit, is that you'd only scale the books that are proven and have room to scale. So for example, and I'm not going to get into this in too much detail, but come Q4, which is now, what I'm looking to do and what people should be looking to do is making the most of their books that are already proven to sell. So for example, this book here, it's selling well organically, it's ranked well, it has a low cost per click, it's got a good conversion rate with the orders. Now it also has room with its ACOS, okay? So effectively what this means, let's assume that the break-even price, the break-even ACOS is 25%. Basically, this gives us some room to scale this book and get more advertising sales, which we hope will lead to more organic sales. So what I'll be doing in this case, and what I have done for this campaign and 4 other campaigns only, is I'll increase the cost per click. This will go up to 15 cents roughly. Then the daily budget will go up to around $10. Okay, so what will happen then if you increase the cost per click? That means you're going to get more clicks and sales, but it means you will go through your daily budget. So that's why we increase the cost per click and the daily budget. And it's an educated decision because this book has already been proven. So that's the advertising strategy that I'll be using for this pursuit. Again, doesn't mean that everyone should use it for every single book. It is risky if you don't know what you're doing. So here's a big one. Like for me, my time, I suppose, is more precious than money. Of course, money, you shouldn't be wasting that either. So in this section, we'll take a look at where I would be saving money and time. And this is not meant to upset people or be controversial. It is just the reality of what I've experienced over years and years and years and years and thousands of sales in this domain. So too many niche research tools. Again, if you're paying monthly subscriptions for niche research tools, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, some of them are super expensive. In my opinion, you're just wasting money because the emphasis shouldn't be, in my opinion, on trying to find these hot keywords, because we're talking specifically for coloring books. Coloring books are competitive, and your main thought with coloring books needs to be about your angle and the quality of your book, and that's where you make a ton of sales, not from finding these itty bitty little hot keywords. Okay, in my opinion. Okay, so buying every new fancy bit of software without ever using it, this is typical of people to do this as well. For me, if you are investing in any kind of tool that can create you content that you couldn't create otherwise, it's incredibly valuable and you have to use it. But what people do is they kind of collect all the different tools and software and fancy things, but never actually use them. So buying them without using them, with no intention of using them, is one of the biggest wastes of money and time that you can experience here. But they can be very, very useful if you do use them. So ridiculous advertising spend unless you are primarily using Amazon to capture your emails. We're not going to talk about that too much. But what a lot of people do is because they see people like me on YouTube spending money on ads, they think they need to spend money on ads, so they spend thousands. I've known people to publish 3 books and spend $10,000 on ads on them just for those books to not make sales organically. It's crazy. You need to really think about your advertising spend. The purpose behind it should be, if you're doing coloring books, to just launch the book and then maintain that book in the marketplace with the educated advertising spend that we just spoke about. Okay, mega expensive courses, and this could lead me down a distasteful route that I don't want to go, because I like a lot of content creators, and of course I offer paid stuff myself, but I've taken a lot of courses, and you know, I feel like anything over $100 to $200 for a course that's going to tell you the same things that everyone else has already told you is really expensive and really time consuming. Unfortunately, what a lot of people will do with courses is to put a lot of content in there that is just theory to pad out the courses and make them seem more attractive, right? That's the reality, unfortunately. So I've taken a few courses and they've been fine. But inside the mentoring program that I offer, you get all of my course content. I decided to add all of my course content new course content on everything, ads, niche research, so that you have the framework that you can work with, but we're including it as part of the membership from day one. Which means it's just the $47 if you just want to experience courses, you can do that. So another huge waste of time, and I don't want to offend anybody here, but is learning design skill to some extent. Like, yes, I want to understand what a good looking book cover looks like. Yes, I want to understand like color contrast is important. Now, I went through a phase where I was trying to learn how to do this properly, like illustrate everything myself, and I was taking hours and hours and hours, and I didn't enjoy it at all. And I figured at this stage where I am at, where I have a little bit of money to put into this, it is better just to hire someone and save time. It's a huge time saver. Obviously, if you don't have the money, then learning design skills can be a very, very fantastic pursuit. And I've told people this before, that if you are someone who can design or illustrate or do whatever well, you're sitting on a gold mine for publishing, because your costs are somewhat severely reduced. And another interesting, somewhat controversial one, I know, is A+ content. Now, you would assume the better your A+ content is, the higher your conversions would be, and I would agree with that. But what I see people doing is not knowing how to specifically design A+ content, and they end up spending hours and hours and hours and hours creating something in Canva that doesn't look very good. Or some people spend $200 $300 on having A+ content outsourced. I am testing with that, but my suspicions at the moment, and based off of previous experience where I have terrible A+ content, is you can still make a ton of sales even if the A+ content isn't that good. So advertising strategies is another huge waste of money. So what we have people doing is that they don't know if their books are any good, but they think that it's because of the advertising strategy they're using that is costing them from making money with their products. Now, I will tell you here, and I will tell you with immense confidence, that it's not the case. Your product is just not good enough. So what people do is they'll test this strategy, then they'll test this one, then this one, then this one. And come the time that they've could have just moved on to another project, they spent $500, $600, $700 testing advertising campaigns, when really the book in the first place wasn't good enough. Now, what I've found over the years, especially recently, of putting more money into ads, is that if your book is good, if in general the customers want it, your automatic campaigns will do well, your manual campaigns will also do well. Now, there is a slight difference in conversions. What I found with advertising strategies is that the automatic campaigns don't convert as well, but you can get a lower cost per click. The manual campaigns convert better, but you get a higher cost per click. Okay, so in my opinion, you can run either, provided that the book is good. Now, another one is doing keyword research. And actually, I will say, I think this is important if you're doing higher content books, to find specific keywords so that there is much less competition. Now, if you're doing coloring books, everyone has seen your keyword, right? Everyone's seen bold and easy, everyone's seen inspirational, motivational, religious, everyone has seen mandalas, everything, every keyword, everyone knows it already, and they're going to be using it as well. So in my opinion, like, these hot keywords, they don't make any difference. Like the bold and easy stuff, for example, if you think that's a hot keyword and you try and get a book ranked, a terrible book ranked for that, you might get it ranked, but eventually it will just fall off of the listings because it's not good enough, right? So that's why we put a ton of emphasis on making sure that people have like a premium offering that has a unique angle that is logical for those niches, so that you don't end up spending so you don't end up creating the exact same products that everyone else has already created. It's illogical to some extent to think that offering something lesser than what the marketplace is already offering is going to make you sales, right? It doesn't make any sense. And last but maybe not least, I don't know if anyone should bother watching any videos that exaggerate the possibilities of certain niches. Don't think it helps anyone, especially when it's paired with what people do is they make the hot niche how much you can make, $20 gazillion a month, then they create the book in Canva. Like, it doesn't represent at all the opportunity for when it comes to coloring books in particular. So for me, I don't watch those videos, I don't watch them, and I don't recommend that anyone else does either. So with that in mind here, let's say that we had $1,000 to $1,500. How many books are we going to publish? So we know that doing this game is going to require some volume of books here, because there is a failure percentage. It's very, very real. Now, for this amount of money, and I know someone's probably worked this out and saying, oh, with your ads, it's going to cost more than $1,000. Yeah, it probably will. It probably will. But this is just as an example. Okay, but I'll try and get around 20 books completed, 5 to 6 of them. I would want to have as premium hand-drawn books where I've hired someone to do the illustrations for me. The rest of these I'd be creating using AI to make sure that I can build my way up to around 20 different books. I'd focus on one audience for the hand-drawn styles and a different audience for the AI books under 2 different pen names. Okay, so that is the approach that I would take. That is the amount of books, and that would probably cost more than $1,000 when all is said and done with the advertising. But just to give you some perspective on how I think people should approach this if you do have some money to put into this. But like I say, one of the most important things is, especially if you're looking to put some money into this, is that you understand where you currently are in your publishing journey, which is why we're offering what we offer inside of the Raydog KDP community, so that you can get on the weekly coaching calls. I tend to have a topic each week, but then after the calls, I do stay on and talk with people after the main topics have been discussed. And of course, you can get direct feedback from me and other people inside of the Discord group as well. We have all the course content, all the strategies that I use, and of course the live calls. All of these are recorded as well, so you can go back, check out my main coloring book brand, take a look at all of them. It's super valuable stuff. But hopefully this has helped, and I'll catch you in another video very soon.